Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another PFL fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for PFL Brussels Habirora versus Henderson. So I don't know how to say his name. It is what it is. Y'all can see. I'm gonna click the picture of who I think gonna win. But yeah, this is the full card predictions. So let's get on to scrolling down to the first fight on the card. All right, first fight on the card. We have in the welterweight division, we got Serbiev versus Ashley Reese. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'll go low confidence Ashley Reese to beat Serbiev. So yeah, Serbiev does not look particularly outstanding. Reese seems kind of underrated, 9-5 versus 9-3. And then we look at Serbiev's wins. They are all against it's like what they call it. All his wins are basically flagged, and he's not even fighting good competition. You know, those wins are still flagged. Like that's crazy. Like that shows you just questionability to the level of competition he's fighting. He's just a fraud from Russia or Belgium or whatever. Rustam, whatever region, the Caucasus Mountains, but moved to Belgium, whatever the case may be. That's why he's the favorite. And Reese, you know, he might have got knocked out by somebody recently, but it was Nikolai Veretinnikov, who, you know, can strike at a pretty high level. Even in the UFC, striking wise, he can strike at a pretty high level. So it's not no real shame in losing that. I'm not trying to act like Reese some future this, future that, or nothing. Not that these guys are gonna be amount to nothing amazing as far as their careers. In their life, to their wife, their children, their parents, or whatever, they could be amazing, man. But as far as pro careers, like they'll be decent fighters, maybe decent coaches, but don't see how these guys amounting to being some like some top 15, top 10 UFC fighters, or even top 30, or even maybe even getting a win in the UFC. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't see that for either guy, to be honest. But Reese seems like the more tested guy, the more credible guy. So I'm leaning to credibility. Serbiev seems like one of these fraud fighters. His record looked fraud. Even with a fraud record, he still managed to get 5 losses. Reese like at least fighting real fighters and losing to real fighters and beating some real fighters. But that's what me right here. So it's not like a really stylistically. I just feel like Reese is more polished, more tested in an actual real fighter versus Serbiev, who's a fraud. So in this one, I got Ashley Reese via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, we got Mskini versus Kawani Lopez. I don't know why I'm messing up the name. I predicted his fights before. But yeah, Mskini versus Kawani Lopez. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'll go low confidence Mskini to beat Kawani Lopez. So I don't know. I feel like Kawani Lopez was much older. I feel like he was 38. But either way, I go him. I'm not even gonna lie. I haven't looked at this fight. I go on momentum. And I feel like Kawani Lopez was older. And I ain't gonna do no extra research. I am being 100% honest. I do not care that much. Mskini decision right here. Next fight. All right. Next fight we have in the welterweight, so momentum. But anyway, next fight we have in the welterweight division, we got Khamzat Abaev versus Luka Poclit. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'll go low confidence Luka Poclit to beat Khamzat Abaev. So Abaev seems pretty one-dimensional. And Poclit, a better striker, fought much better competition, beat in much better competition, better cardio, better durability, etc., etc. And just came on fight against a better wrestler. And he gave him trouble. He gave, Logan Storley, who's one of the more elite fighters outside the UFC. And again, he gave him trouble in a lot of like on the ground, on the feet in that fight. And Abaev has not really even fought real reputable competition yet, and has already suffered losses. And I can see a fight where Luka Poclit is doing damage on the feet, addressing the takedowns, and even off his back doing good submission attempts. And, never giving Abaev a chance to just wrestle and hug here, break him down. And I'll say a late second round submission, like after breaking him down on the feet, constantly making him work, not giving him a place to just rest and catch his breath on the ground. And then, probably hurt him a little bit on the feet in the second round. Abaev tries to get the takedown, Poclit accepts it, and then capitalize on it, gets submission on a fading Abaev in the second round. So in this one, I got Luka Poclit via second round submission. Now for the next fight, we have in the bantamweight division, we got Mavsar Ibragimov versus Yusuf Binate. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'll go low confidence Mavsar Ibragimov to beat Yusuf Binate. Binate seems like a decent fighter, but does seem like a stylistic advantage for Ibragimov. Binate seems to struggle in the grappling. Ibragimov is strong in the grappling, or at least stronger in the grappling. And I think he are stronger or strong enough to, be able to exploit the grappling of Binate. I don't think he finishes him. I think it's on the table, but I say Mavsar Ibragimov, takes him down, pretty much at will for the most part of this fight, and is able to grind him out to a decision. Competitive enough fight, but, clear that Ibragimov getting takedowns, getting control, probably some decent ground and pound, and some decent submission attempts, but not ultimately able to finish the fight, but able to grind out Binate to a decision here. So in this one, I have Mavsar Ibragimov via decision. Now the next fight we have in the light heavyweight division, we got Donegi Abena versus Joe Schilling. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go average confidence Donegi Abena to beat Joe Schilling. So Joe Schilling is an amazing fighter, especially offensively when he's really getting going. But even then, like never at any point where he have great defense or particularly a great chin. And is this gonna be a kickboxing match or MMA match? They showing them with their kickboxing pictures instead of showing them with their MMA pictures. But and I think this is Abena's debut fight in MMA. I think he's 0-0. He's younger by a lot. Been recently fighting, not too long ago, been fighting at a very high level of kickboxing, doing extremely well for some kickboxing versus a guy that's 42 years old. And again, even in his prime, Joe Schilling was known to get dropped and having to come back and get these crazy comeback victories. So the chin's never been particularly good. The heart's always been there, but chin never been pretty good. Now, you're 42, your heart might be good, like internally. I mean, not internally, but like spiritually, your heart might be good or whatever. But physically, your heart giving out too at this time when you're 42 years old and you have fought a long time. So I really see Donegi Abena put him out mid first round via TKO. Again, a guy that's very skilled, very high level, freshly, probably at this point, matter of fact, I'm not going to say probably, still at this point in his career, he could go back to kickboxing, might even be able to go on and be a glory kickboxing champion. Might be. I'm not saying he would. I'm saying he has potential. You wouldn't sound too crazy saying that. I wouldn't predict that, but I say you wouldn't be crazy to say that that's a possibility for him. Like, so he's that good at kickboxing, and he's much younger. Joe Schilling was pretty good at kickboxing as well. I think was he a glory kickboxing champion or a glory tournament winner at the very least? So, yeah. Yeah, Joe Schilling's legit, but guys, 42 years old, never had a good chin. Not too long ago, just got knocked out by Luke Rocco. That's another thing to show how washed you are. Let's say Luke Rocco's bad, but Luke Rocco's an MMA fighter who wasn't even particularly a super phenomenal striker, and he knocked you out in pure striking like 2 years ago. So, and Schilling's even older now. So he's probably 40 then. He's 42 now. Again, I'm just saying a whole lot of this, say a lot of that. I think Donegi Abena still too good, right in his prime. Matter of fact, probably hasn't even hit his prime yet. Cause he probably could see Testing May out for 2 years, then go back to kickboxing and be a better fighter and put his all and be in his prime when he go back to kickboxing. Again, might go on another run. It might be a champion. So either way, I'm saying a lot of this, say a lot of that. It's his time. Schilling's never really had a great chin at any point in his career, and he's old and had all that mileage, and he might have more MMA fights, but he never really worked on offensive grappling. Never had good offensive grappling. I think Abena should do a good job of addressing any grappling that Schilling does have, keeping us on the feet if Schilling does try to do that. And probably, in my opinion, I feel like Abena being younger, he's probably stronger, more athletic, probably got out grappling, just all pure athleticism. But yeah, Donegi Abena first round TKO. So in this one, I got Donegi Abena via first round TKO. Now the next fight we have in the bantamweight division, we got Boris Adiguzel. I don't know how to say his name. That sounds very French though. Versus Gustavo Oliveira. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go low confidence Boris Adiguzel to beat Gustavo Oliveira. I know I'm butchering the name, but it is what it is. You can help me in the comment section. Please help me in the comment section. I do not know how to pronounce the guy's name. And I don't feel like going to Google or YouTube to help me. So please help me in my comment section. In case the guy ever does blow up enough for me to really have to figure his name out. But yeah, low confidence Boris to beat Gustavo. I think there's a fight that could be very competitive. Gustavo's definitely very live here. But ultimately, I don't think Gustavo's offensive takedowns are all that great. I think Boris addressed the grappling of Oliveira as far as the takedowns. Don't defeat Boris, I think, is just a sharper, more technical fighter as far as striking. More technical, I think Gustavo might pack more power, but I think Boris is more technical, more economic, more accurate, and I think that's what's going to be. Gustavo probably looking for the bigger shots, but Boris may have landed cleaner shots, the flusher shots, and to land with more impact because he's throwing sharper shots. But I do think this does go to full 15 minutes competitive fight, but Boris clearly getting ahead with the more clean, more sharp strikes and beating Gustavo by decision. So in this one, I got Boris Adiguzel via decision. Now the next fight we have in the featherweight division, we got Adjoudj versus Keisuke Sasu. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go average confidence Adjoudj to beat Keisuke Sasu. And Adjoudj is a good well-rounded fighter. I say average confidence here. He can beat him on feet, can beat him in the grappling. But I think more so in this fight, he's going to look to address the grappling. And just be longer, sharper on the feet, break down Keisuke Sasu over the course of the fight. And yeah, 6 feet tall versus 5'5". That's insane. That's huge height advantage. The reach advantage ain't that crazy. It's only like what, 2.5, but the height, what's that? Like 7, 6'7", 6'7". But yeah, I think Adjoudj would be able to break him down over the course of the fight and stop him third. Like Sasu's tough, he's competitive, he's a gamer, but I don't think he has really much for Adjoudj. He'll get probably give a good account for himself. He'll be scrapping for every inch or trying to, but I think Adjoudj would just physically on a different level and skillfully on a different level. And I think he'll be able to break Sasu down and stop him in the third. So in this one, I have Adjoudj via third round TKO. Now for the next fight, we have in the bantamweight division, we got Marceli Alves versus Naoki Inoue. And how do I feel about this one right here is I'll go average confidence. Marceli Alves to beat Naoki Inoue. And again, kind of similar to last fight, Inoue's tough in game, but I think Marceli Alves is on a different level. I don't see one area where Inoue's better. He's not a better grappler. He's not a better, don't have better IQ, don't have better striking. Tough in game, but ultimately I think Marceli Alves is going to be too much for me to break him down. And I'll say second round TKO for Marceli Alves. I think it's like first round kind of filling out, but probably going to hurt him at the end of the first or maybe at early in the first. No, he's going to probably be able to get back into himself a little bit. But in the second round, Alves is going to start to hurt him again, and there's going to be a big slope drop. Like, matter of fact, it's going to be a steep slope. It's not going to be this like slope. It's going to be like, boom, like he's just dropping off a hill. And yeah, Marceli Alves, second round TKO, maybe mid-round, second round TKO. So in this one, I got Marceli Alves via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the light heavyweight division, we got Boris Atangana versus Jared Gordon. Jared Gooden. Not Jerry Gordon, Jared Gooden, former UFC fighter. So Boris Atangana versus Jared Gooden. And how do I feel about this one right here? Is I'll go low confidence Boris Atangana to beat Jared Gooden, low confidence. I really haven't really watched Boris, to be honest. I just know Jared Gooden ain't that good, to be honest. And Boris Atangana has more upside. Stylistically, this is a fight where Gooden can pull off upset. I feel like Atangana's been grappling a lot. Hasn't been really fighting the best competition, to be honest. Again, he's early in his career. The guy, got like 7, 8 fights? So he hasn't really been fighting the best competition. Gooden has been fighting better competition. He's fought in the UFC. He's picked up some wins in the UFC, or at least 1 or 2. I think he picked up contenders fight, maybe like 1 or 2 UFC wins. Just for like a big light heavyweight. That's another thing. He's fighting beyond his weight. This guy really a welterweight, maybe at most a middleweight. He's fighting. So let's make it even clear. I'm not gonna start off and go average here, but the guy fighting way above your weight. You might feel great on my light heavyweight. I still got a 6-pack and whatnot, but you don't have the strength nor the skills to be fighting that light heavyweight, given the fact that you aren't really a true light heavyweight. I say middleweight at best. And I feel like in PFL, there's no real reason to be fighting at above the weight in PFL, to be honest. Cause I see in the UFC, like, nah, what am I even trying to say? What am I even trying to say? No. Yeah, I'm not making no sense. I was going with that. But, welterweight, what's the weakest division? I feel like light heavyweight might be a weaker division here, but stylistic-wise, I feel like he'll struggle more at light heavyweight than middleweight. I feel like middleweight's probably a better division, but physically, I feel like middleweight would be his better weight class here in PFL. Welterweight, yeah, there's some probably more UFC level welterweights here than there are light heavyweight level fighters here. Well, UFC level light heavyweights aren't really in PFL that much. There are a couple, there might be 2, but welterweight there might be like 5, 6 UFC level fighters. Middleweight, there might be like 1 or 2 UFC level middleweights in PFL. So I'm saying like middleweight might be a better choice. But by the way, I only got none of the weight class he'll be champion here. And I've not really seen no evolution in his skills. But yeah, I'm going Boris Atangana. I'm yapping a whole lot. I just think Gooden's fighting beyond his weight class and needs to find middleweight or improve his skills. Now, I say middleweight would be a better place for him to improve his skills. Because then you won't be cutting as much weight as you're trying to make welterweight. So you can put more time for your skills, improving your skill set. And again, I feel like middleweight has the least UFC level talent in PFL as far as between light heavyweight, middleweight, and welterweight. So I feel like that'd be a better place for him instead of going light heavyweight. Like I said, you can improve your skills, but you're still gonna be too small here. And it's not like you're one of those smaller guys that's so technical. Like everything, you're coming up to light heavyweight. You're not more technical, to be honest. You're more experienced, but you're not more technical. You ain't that quick. You really ain't have consistent power. So like some guys be better going up because they'll be quicker and sharper and they have heavy hands. They can, they got power that can go up weight classes. And they're more technical, so they can put those shots on the slower fighters. But Gooden's not particularly powerful with his punches, not consistently powerful. He got weird punching mechanics. And he's not particularly technical. He's well-rounded enough, but he's like one of the guys that can defend takedowns pretty well, but he can't really go for takedowns. And then he can't really strike that technically, and power doesn't really translate up that much. So, yeah. Lightweight's not free, so again, I'm yapping a lot. Boris Atangana via decision. Now to our next fight, We have in the bantamweight division in our co-main event, we got Taylor Lapilus versus Jake Hadley. And how I feel about this one right here is I'll go average confidence Taylor Lapilus to beat Jake Hadley. And Lapilus just clears him everywhere. I only say the only area where Hadley probably has an advantage in an area that he really can't use, I don't see him using, is maybe submission grappling. And even then, I feel like Lapilus is not going to really be in a position in the submission grappling to give Hadley advantage. Like I said, like he wouldn't really be in a position. So it'd be like Lapilus getting takedowns. It wouldn't be Hadley having his back. It'd be Lapilus getting takedowns, probably being his guard, maybe on top and half guard. Don't really see side control too much, maybe for a little bit there. But yeah, I would see Lapilus being able to win the takedown battle. If Hadley try to go for a guillotine or something, Lapilus be smart, step off the side. You know, yeah, I see Lapilus being able to address that. So even pure grappling, I think I just feel like Hadley, as far as submitting people, he has against other people. And this against Lapilus, even then it's not there. But against other fighters, maybe similar matchups, Hadley would have a better chance of submitting those guys and being dangerous to those guys. But the Lapilus, yeah, I struggle to see him getting a takedown against Lapilus. Struggle to see him holding Lapilus down. Struggle to see him getting to good positions on the ground against Lapilus. I think Lapilus is faster. He's sharper. He's more tactical. He's more accomplished, more athletic, more dynamic. Could see stoppage here, but Hadley has been pretty tough for the most part. He has been able to make it to 15 minutes. I can't really remember too many guys finishing him or any guy particularly finishing him, to my recollection. I have seen him get dog walked a couple times, but I have not seen him get finished, to my recollection. So I see this going for this, and also Lapilus is not really a consistent finisher. He got to finish people that have bad gas, and he's able to address the wrestling, dig to their body, break them down, and then finish them later on, like they're faded. But if you're tough and you're going to be game, you'll be there to take a beating for 15 minutes. And Lapilus will be there more than happy to give you a beating for 15 minutes. So more so a point fighter. He can definitely deal damage, but more so fight goes the distance with Lapilus. Yeah, I think he'll be able to address the grappling pretty cleanly, beat a sharper striker, break down Hadley, and beat him pretty clearly over 15 minutes. I'm saying very clearly over 15 minutes. So in this one, I have Taylor Lapilus. I was about to say KO. Via decision. I just jinxed, so he's going to KO him. But yeah, Taylor Lapilus via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, we got Patrick Habirora versus Ben Henderson, Ben Smooth Henderson, one of my favorite lightweights, if not my favorite lightweight of all time. But yeah, in the welterweight division, Ben Henderson 42 years old now, maybe 43, 42 years old. This man said he was going to retire when he turned 30. Here we are, 12 years later, he's still fighting. Come on, man, retire. This man doing everything. But yeah, confidence level, I'll go average confidence, Habirora to beat Benson Henderson. But yeah, this guy doing everything under the sun. Say he's going to retire at 30. Here's 12 years later, he's still fighting. 12 years later, and about 10 more losses later, still fighting. Yeah, still fighting after all these years. He doing karate combat. He doing influencer boxing. He doing BJJ. I like the BJJ. BJJ was doing good for him at one point. He should have stuck to that. Not saying he was going to be like a BJJ world champion or something like that, but I say that's much better than getting brain damage, getting punched in the head and stuff, and sticking around your 42 and stuff. And also, I don't see what this PFL event is doing. I can see he was doing MVP event, and they gave him a Gina Carano. Well, I'm not saying give him Gina Carano or whatever. Maybe a Josh Thompson. Give him another fight that's old. Put him on the PFL. I know some of these old guys itching to have fights again. Fight another 40-year-old. Maybe fight a 50-year-old. Maybe fight what's his name? Jamie Varner again. Maybe fight what's his name? Little Evil, and get $500, $600, $700,000 to fight one of those guys. Push out the fact that you guys many title defenses. Matter of fact, you had 3 title defenses before Khabib did. You had them faster. You did it before Khabib. You did it faster than Khabib. Not to say, oh, he's greater than Khabib. I like him way more than Khabib. I feel like I would love for him to whoop on Khabib. That'd be great. But obviously that didn't happen. That fight, different eras, kind of different timeline. And I'm not saying he would have this, but I would love to see that happen. But yeah, whatever. But I would love for Henderson to make smart decisions. I don't feel like he probably get paid $200,000, which is still a lot of money, a whole lot of money. I would love $200,000. I'll fight I'd fight Ngannou for $100,000, $200,000. To be honest, I might curl up after getting hit. I might just go full shell mode. Heat side of my arm, I curl up. I might try to bounce around the ring like Jake Paul for 3 minutes for 3 rounds trying to drag it out, or 2 rounds trying to drag it out. Trying to avoid him at all costs. And the moment he hit me one clean shot that fell through my arm, I'll curl up. Again, I'm not trying to take no brain damage at all like that, especially not from one of the heaviest hitters in combat sports history. I'm definitely not for that, but I'll take $300,000 for that fight. But yeah, this fight, he probably getting paid, $200,000 or less, $300,000. Maybe sponsors come in, but still, I don't see what the worth of it is. Habirora ain't no real big name, no real big prospect. Well, oh, this is a big prospect. We want you to fight him. We'll give you $800. Like, ain't nothing like that. So I don't see the point. And he fighting on PFL on an event that really probably ain't gonna get the most show, ain't gonna get talked about too much. I guess that's a good sign. You might get whooped on, but you're not gonna talk about it too much. But you can take way less damage and you go fight a fight that's winnable and get paid more. Like Nate Diaz fighting Mike Perry fighting Nate Diaz on this, and Ronda Rousey getting Gina Carano getting paid $2 million, and Gina Carano getting paid $1 million. And your fighter just as great as, not matter of fact, you're way greater than Nate Diaz. You whooped on Nate Diaz. Way greater than Nate Diaz. Way greater than Mike Perry. Way greater than Gina Carano. I'll say, in my opinion, just as great as Ronda Rousey, in my opinion. Again, he has tied with Khabib. He did it before Khabib. He did it faster than BJ Penn. 3 title defenses. And just in Islam, the greatest lightweight of all time, only has 1 more defense than him. So, say what you want. Vincent Henderson is more than valid. In my opinion, one of the top 5 greatest lightweights of all time. He should not be sticking around fighting guys for crumbs. He's moving like a crumb, and he could do a lot better than what he's doing. And he said he's retiring when he's 30, and he's 12 years past that deadline. And again, he can do grappling competitions and be a jiu-jitsu coach, be this and that. Go on this fight straight scrubs and do like Dan Severn did 100 years ago. I remember Dan Severn back in 2008. That's well past his prime, and we're just fighting cab drivers and stuff. Just making money. And I think Henderson can do the same thing and just make more money just fighting straight cab drivers. Because at this point, we don't really care to see you struggle and lose as fans. We just care to see you fight, be healthy, be active, and win. We know you past your prime. Who are you trying to prove stuff to? Yourself, your wife, your gym partners? I don't know what he's doing. So it's really just a conversation about Henderson. But yeah, I got to fade him. Habirora like a decent talent. He's young in his prime. Henderson is completely past his prime. He's losing to guys in influencer boxing. Yeah, please figure a different avenue. Fight some smarter fights. Matter of fact, this fight winnable fight. Fights you should be a -1,000 fighter. And don't, because again, we don't care to see you struggle like that or try to prove something. You proved yourself a gazillion times before. You're more than proven. And matter of fact, don't be all that humble stuff. I don't ever see Henderson talk about, he's 3 times this. He seemed very humble. He has ego at times. I see it. But as far as really promote himself, he does a terrible job of promoting himself. And this is another one of those things right here. Put himself in a terrible position. And also he hasn't done particularly great at welterweight. At one point he was doing great at welterweight, but he kind of did good against lesser welterweights and maybe welterweight that formerly fought at lightweight like Masvidal. But and again, even then that was years ago. Now again, it's years beyond that. And I think overall his record at welterweight probably is 2-5. 2-4, it's a losing record, and he's getting younger. I could say Habirora KO, but I'll say decision. I think this would be a good learning experience for him. So it'll be great for Habirora, but I don't think they're paying Henderson enough to give Habirora this win in learning experience. It don't make no sense. What are you proving here? And it's outside your weight class. But yeah, I can see Habirora hurting Henderson at points, but Henderson being game as he is, hard to finish. Being able to scramble, bob and weave his head a little bit, go for takedowns, stay in the fight, and lose a decision for Habirora. But I do see it as a pretty clear win for Habirora after 15 minutes. Henderson maybe have slight little moments, slight little flashes of glory from his prime, show flashes of his prime at moments. But ultimately, Habirora has been much bigger, much younger, much sharper. And Henderson looking like a retiree sticking around way too long. So in this one, I had Patrick Habirora via decision. And so that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for PFL Brussels, Habirora versus Henderson. And as always, thanks for watching. Peace.